Anthony Zolo, welcome to the Opportunity Hour podcast. Anthony is a legacy airline pilot and recently started his own personal consulting business at the beginning of COVID. He's calling it Life by Z. And Anthony, if you could, go ahead and jump in, maybe give us a 2-minute elevator pitch for Life by Z.
Sure. So basically what I do with personal consulting is I help people develop mindsets, habits, and techniques to build a winning culture in their life. So, some people may have in the traditional sense, previously referred to that as life coaching. I look at this as something that's a little bit different. It's really geared more towards building your personal and professional sort of development, really, than it is anything else. Effectively, what it is you have so many people that are out there, Tyler, that they're very capable people. They can accomplish a lot of things. The thing is that they've just been sort of caught up in this culture that we live in nowadays that emphasizes a lot of the wrong things. It sort of emphasizes in particular a lot of very misaligned priorities. The net result of this is that a lot of people end up developing bad habits that, truth be told, they don't even realize that they actually have. And when you don't know that you have these bad habits, you're trying to accomplish things, particularly when you're trying to forge ahead in life. You're trying to build your savings. You're maybe trying to advance in whatever career field you happen to be in, perhaps start a business or something like that. A lot of times people have the ambitions, they have the capability, but they're just tied down by so many of these bad habits that they don't know that they have, that effectively, and through no fault of their own to a certain degree, they can't get out of their own way. So what I do with my personal consulting business is, as I said, I help people develop the habits, mindset, strategies, and techniques to build a winning culture in their personal and professional lives.
Taking a page out of your own playbook, who are you? Who is Anthony Zolo?
A man's man committed to success and winning at life and empowering people to do the same in theirs.
How did you get to become a man's man? Give us some more depth of who Anthony Zolo is.
So, here's the thing. As far as being a man's man, I would just say that that's simply a byproduct of growing up around a lot of men's men. I had a lot of, very good male role models, in my younger life. And, these are people that you look at them and, you look at, hey, here's somebody who's extremely well-spoken, extremely well-spoken, as I completely and totally stutter my way through and butcher that word, but someone who's well-spoken, someone who's charismatic, somebody who's a statesman when they need to be, but also very aggressive and ruthless when they need to be at the same time too. Somebody that's capable of getting things done, somebody that's respected by people. They know how to conduct themselves. They know how to carry themselves. These are things that, truth be told, I kind of think that these are things that both with men and women are things that are kind of fallen off by the wayside nowadays. And I think that's part of the reason why not just men, but I think people in general are sort of getting bogged down in life and not getting to where they need to be, because a lot of these sort of personality traits, mindsets, and sort of character attributes of people are kind of going by the wayside. And these are things I think help you forge ahead and get to where you want to be in life. So, like I said, as far as the man's man aspect of it was concerned, I'm just identifying with that as a kid growing up around a lot of, like I said, men's men that, as I said, they carried themselves in that capacity. You saw that these are people that were, classy people. They were respected by people at the same time, but they were also very capable and confident people when it came to getting things done. They were very successful in their own personal and professional lives as well. And I think that when you sort of grow up in that, you become basically a product of the environment that you grow up in, which is not necessarily just your family. It's also friends. It's also people you associate with too. So, if that gives any sort of insight into your question, I like to think that it does. That's where I would say that the man's man aspect of it comes into play. But I think just the same, there's also such a thing as being ladies' lady as well. So as a guy, that's just what I happen to identify with. But keep in mind, I think for women, there's also that same aspect of it as well in terms of being a ladies' lady.
I don't remember who said it, but it definitely wasn't me. But I agree with it. Is you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around.
Absolutely. And I was actually about to say that as we were talking about it, and that popped into my mind as well. And I've heard the same thing. I've heard that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And I don't know who said that either, but I'll tell you right now, regardless of who said it, that's less important compared to, what they said. And it's true. And, whether it's 5 people, 6 people, 7 people, you become the average of the company that you keep. And one of the things that I stress within consulting is that if you want to get to a point in your life where you're successful and you're fulfilled, in your personal and professional life, you've got to start hanging out with like-minded people that are on the same track as you. And I think that on an emotional level, there's a lot of people that, they develop relationships with people, particularly from the time that they're young, that, over time you kind of look at who was that person that you knew when you were younger, and who are you yourself nowadays. You might find that, people that you have these deep, friendships and, sort of personal relationships with, they're great people. There's nothing wrong with them. But, as you get older, you may be on different paths in life. They want one thing, you want another thing. And, at that particular point, if that relationship's not really doing you any justice in the path that you're going on, sometimes you get down your own path. And I think that what people misunderstand in that is that when you do that, that doesn't mean that you have to cut that person out of your life. It's not like, okay, hey, this person's totally, on the pay no mind list, delete them on Facebook, delete their contact, never talk to them. No, absolutely not. That's not how you have to do it. But sometimes you just have to kind of make it a priority to sort of start associating with new people that are on that sort of same path as you, or they're already where you want to be. And I think that that's a big thing to getting you to where you want to be in life, is by associating with those people. Again, going back to what you said, the people that you become the average of.
You hang out with broke people, you'll end up broke. You hang out with wealthy people, hopefully you'll end up wealthy. Looking at go ahead.
I was going to say, it may sound a little bit harsh, but I think that really what it comes down to, winners hang out with winners, losers hang out with losers. And I don't mean to be mean spirited in saying that, but there's truth in that. There really is.
Absolutely. Looking at your lifebyz.com website, very refined, gives you basically gives the potential customer everything they need to know to look into your services. One of the things I took away from that, and I kind of mentioned in the opening question, is technology has enabled, or I should say simplified, communication. But you kind of hint at the fact that with all this technology, we're not really getting to know people, which is why I led with, who are you, Anthony Zolo? But one other thing too, that getting to the heart of somebody is, and you said it on your website. I'm just trying to give people a taste of what you're trying to deliver, but it fits really well with this conversation. What are your ambitions and goals? Before you answer that, I look at becoming an aviator, and most of us have spent a lot of time and a lot of money to get to where we want to be. And you being at a legacy carrier, I imagine that you've kind of reached the pinnacle of where you want to be in your career. Now, granted, there's certain things you might want to attain with that career, but you've made it through that door. And now more than anything, seniority that has control of your financial future at that airline specifically. And I've noticed, with me and talking with other people, it's like you work so hard for this goal to get to where you want to be in aviation. And it's like, well, shit, I hit it. Now what? And it sounds like, your next goal is Life by Z. But can you talk a little bit about your ambitions and goals, both in your personal life and your business life?
So, here's the thing, with me, I think that a lot of those goals sort of carry over into the same thing, both personally and professionally. So, as far as a professional goal, I mean, I think you did sort of hit on something that's kind of interesting right there. As an aviator, to get to a legacy carrier, that's really sort of like, that's what everybody's aspiring to do. It's like, if you play baseball, everybody dreams of one day putting on the pinstripes and playing for the New York Yankees. And I got to be really careful saying that as a guy growing up in Boston, being a Red Sox fan. But I mean, let's face it, little kids playing Little League, that's the team, that's the franchise that everybody dreams of playing for, right? Everybody wants to wear stripes and play at Yankee Stadium in much the same capacity that, for pretty much most people that are starting off in aviation, to get to one of the three legacy carriers in the United States is really the pinnacle of being an airline pilot. So, in one sense, having accomplished that, that's a great thing. Career progression in that realm, is still also something that you have to look at. So, you got there, now you focus on seniority, upgrading to captain, just enjoying quality of life and things like that. So, I don't want to say necessarily that the goal stops. I think that maybe the focus, or maybe, but just the fact that that you're there is a great satisfaction in and of itself. So more on the personal level now, what's the next thing that I want to do? It's what I'm starting to do right now. So we had just spun this up as of the first of the year, Life by Z. The website I think was actually live as of December, but I used January 21 as the sort of stepping off point over here. So now I'm sort of on to the next the next thing that I'm doing here, which is starting up Life by Z and the personal consulting business. And my long-term goal with that is, as I said a little while ago, to empower people to build mindsets, habits, techniques, and strategies to build a winning culture of success in your personal and professional life. And it's a new venture in the sense that I'm just starting out on this. This is something that I've been doing for a long time on a very informal basis, just sitting down, consulting with people and saying, all right, hey, look, this is one thing that I'm noticing. You're trying to do this, but here's what I think is getting in your way. Try this, this, and this instead. I've been doing this, for a long time now, but now actually spinning it into a business is something that's a little bit different. So if that gives any insight into what you asked, and I know that's probably the long-winded soapbox rant version of it, and hopefully I didn't go too far off topic of it, but that's what I think about it, and that's where my mind's at.
As a personal consultant, in your website kind of goes into some of this, but give us kind of a recap on some of the services that you provide.
So being organized, building confidence and self-esteem, interpersonal skills, and that's something that I think in this day and age, interpersonal skills are going by the wayside. I mean, you'd be surprised how far you can get in your own life by just knowing how to engage, connect, and interact with people. And we're such a heads down, thumbs on the iPhone type of culture nowadays that, as crazy as it sounds, people are forgetting how to interact and connect. And I mean, I'm not exaggerating that. It is legitimately a thing that you are seeing, particularly with the younger generation. People just don't know how to talk. They don't know how to engage anymore. And that's what's going to get you to where you want to be is by being able to talk, being able to, as people say, win friends and influence people. So, that's one of the things I do. Dating and relationships, also something, that I can help people out with. So there's really a number of things I think that really fall under the umbrella of personal consulting. Just think of it in the sense of, when you're trying to improve your personal as well as professional life, things that could be helpful in there. Effectively, that's what I do. I list a few things on the website, which, you had alluded to just a moment ago, but it's not limited to those things. Those just happen to be some of the more frequent things that I work with people on.
What is the typical person look like who is seeking a personal consultant?
So, here's the thing. There's no real one size fits all solution. I mean, it could be somebody that, that's, just graduated high school, they're in college and they're just feeling completely and totally overwhelmed with the experience of having left home for the first time, being in this environment that they're totally not used to, totally feeling that they're behind, the power curve and just totally overwhelmed, don't know what they're doing. Could be somebody that just graduated college and really doesn't have the direction of what they want to do in their life. It could be somebody that, is older and more established in what it is that they're doing professionally. Maybe they just have some things in their personal life or maybe some greater aspirations in their professional life that they want to try to pursue. It could even be somebody that's, even more established than that in life that just maybe wants to venture into a new career or, again, just work on some things, maybe some mistakes they've made in the past, maybe some things they're not happy about in their life that they want to improve on. So, again, I wouldn't really limit the scope of it to any sort of one particular age range or, a group of people or anything like that. I think that really when you look at personal consulting and more to the point, when you look at people who are maybe bogged down and just sort of caught in the quagmire of life as it is right now that want to try to improve things, I think that applies to so many different people that, again, it's not one particular age range group of people or anything like that. I mean, I do personally happen to think that that the younger generation that's coming up now, I think the most beneficial, group of people might be people in their 20s, but does it apply exclusively to them? No, but I do think that the millennial sort of generation, I think in particular, has just, like I said earlier, they've been sort of caught up in this whole culture, that we live in now, sort of with modern society of, as I said, misaligned priorities and, bad habits and bad techniques pushing them for so long that through no fault of their own, they kind of don't know what they don't know. But again, it doesn't apply just to that age range.
I saw a meme on the Book of Faces last week, and it said, when I was a kid, I thought my parents had life all figured out. And I think it's relatively obvious, at our age, us and our peers, I'm not going to speak for you, but, I haven't figured it all out. My peers haven't. And so sometimes it's good to get that outside perspective
Yeah.
from a party who isn't going to just tell you what they think you want to hear.
Well, and that's the thing.
Um,
I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I mean, I'm a very, straight shooter. I don't sugarcoat things. I don't blow smoke, as they say. I'm going to tell you, and I think I said that actually on my website. I'm going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what I think needs to be said. And I think that a lot of times with people, when they seek advice, particularly from people that they know, I think the disservice that gets done to them through no ill will or ill intention of the other person is that when you have when you know somebody and you kind of have an emotional connection, and I've seen myself do this with people before. Sometimes, you try to say things maybe not such a way where you're sugarcoating it, but you try to say things diplomatically, and sometimes it gets lost in translation. So I think that the value that you have in a personal consultant, such as myself, particularly somebody that you don't really have that sort of rapport established with already, is that, this is somebody that, they're respectful of you, obviously, but they're going to tell it to you the way that it is, not the way that you want to hear it. And sort of to touch on also what you talked about too, I mean, look, I don't think anybody in the world has it all figured out. I just think that there are some people that have a good chunk of it figured out. They have more of it figured out than others, but there is by no means there's no one out there, in my opinion, that has it all figured out in life. But I definitely think that some that may have more of it figured out could be beneficial to ones that have less of it figured out, if that makes any sense.
on last week's Furlough Friday, we kind of clipped a segment about being bullied in the cockpit. And the point of the point of this conversation is kind of what you alluded to a moment ago. The clip started off with Brandon saying, if you know who you are and you're confident, you can't get bullied. And then, the story kind of segued a little bit into one of the guests who was a IRO, had some oxygen issues, and the captain kind of dismissed her, only to find out that she was right, and they crossed the Atlantic without oxygen. So it's that confidence thing serves you well, but it doesn't always serve you. Sometimes it can slip through the cracks. And she was a little mad at herself for letting that situation happen, but she used it as a learning experience. So unrelated to what you're saying, but I kind of had some parallels, and it was just kind of fresh in my mind, and I thought I'd bring it up. What does an initial consultation look like?
Sure. So basically, an initial consultation, just give me a call, reach out, and tell me what it is that you're trying to do. Here's the thing. I'm interested in helping people, and at the same time, I'm also running a business, but I'm not in the business of just telling people, yeah, sure, we can do that, and just taking your money and not getting your results. If I don't think that there's something that I can help you with, like I said, I'm going to tell you what is true. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. So look, if I don't feel that that my services may align specifically with the outcome objectives that somebody might have, I'll tell you that. And if I think that it's within the purview of what I can do and that I can deliver value to a potential client in a situation like that, then by all means, I'll say, okay, I think this is something that I can help you out with. And let's talk about what your outcome objectives are. And now that I know what that is, all right, if you want to work with me on this, then let's do business. I think it would take X number of hours. Okay. And we can work on that. We can set some goals. Maybe I can work through over a time frame. Maybe we can check in, say, if we're going to check in, just hypothetically, say, all right, hey, maybe we can knock this out over the course of 4 hours, and we can do this, 1 hour every 2 weeks. I'll give you a couple of things that I think that you should do for that 2-week period until the next time we talk. Set some, some outcomes and some objectives for you in that time. Maybe exchange a couple of emails, over that time, just sort of some interim progress updates. And then keep sort of working with there. But effectively, that's what the consultation would entail. Can I help you out? Are we a good fit? What is it you're trying to accomplish? How long do I think this would take for me to work with you on it? And setting up something that would basically sort of fit that mold.
So in that initial consultation, are you able to typically define success for that individual client? Is that I guess I imagine that's probably one of the KPIs, but i.e. maybe like build confidence, but that's a lifelong practice sometimes. Maybe are you kind of like the mediary between like a friend or family member and a psychologist?
So, here's the deal. What I would say is this: as far as what success looks like, I think that's relative to the person, and that's relative to specifically what their objectives are. Sort of is the sort of outcome objectives of people. So, the better idea they have what they want to accomplish, the easier it's going to be to work with that particular person. So, instead of down and consulting with someone, my big thing is, in order for me to be able to provide value to help you achieve your goals here, you have to know what those goals are. And, sometimes I think that's the biggest thing is that people sort of have an idea of what they want, but they don't know exactly what it is that they want. So that's why I like to do sort of an initial consultation with people, is because I don't want to be, working with somebody, on an hourly basis and spending, say an hour just figuring out what the goals are before we've even started talking about, about having to achieve them. So yeah, that's why I like to try to work it out on that initial consultation, which is a free consultation, by the way. Generally keep it to about 15-20 minutes, and the more you have your ducks, lined up, so to speak, coming into that conversation, the more effective that conversation becomes. So, as far as success, like I said, I leave that up to what that person defines success as. The more specific they are about what their goals are, the more they know what they want. It's a lot easier to define what success, i.e. what the outcome objective of what they're trying to accomplish happens to be.
This seems like a very challenging industry to break into. Can we discuss some of the challenges that you've experienced getting started with a personal consultation brand?
So I find right now the biggest challenge for me is building an online following. I think in any sort of business, particularly in something like this, building your online following is really what drives your client base right there. And as I said, I use January 21 as the launch point for this. And, we're now, just barely 2 months past that, into February. And it has been a slow grind trying to build this online following. It just seems that, you post something, you do get some, activity on it. You get some people that will like a post, maybe comment on it, but trying to actually convert a comment or a like into a following, therein lies the extreme difficulty. So the thing is, I think really building that online following is the biggest challenge. And the way that I'm trying to go about that is just by posting, not necessarily just posting comments or posts on such a frequent basis to the point where it's just, okay, you're mass blasting a lot of stuff out there. I try to go with the quality over quantity type of approach to it. I want to make sure that I'm putting things out there that are going to provide good quality to people, but making sure that I'm, not putting out too little of it. But really, more than anything else, what I'm trying to do is just go out there, call them Instagram, find a post that you like, go into the comment thread and engage with people. And, in engaging with people, probably for every 10 people that you engage with in a comment thread, you might be able to convert one of them into a following. The other thing that I'm quickly finding out is that, you'll convert someone into a follower, but you also lose some followers on the back end too. I'm noticing that there seems to be a strategy out there where, you have someone that's got a pretty good following. You notice that they follow you. You see that they have some pretty good content out there. Maybe engage them a little bit back and forth. And then a week or two later, they're no longer following you. And I'm kind of very quickly figuring out that this seems to be one of the strategies where, you follow someone, they follow you back. And then secretly, you don't follow them, because I think the net result is so many people want to have far more followers than they do people that they follow. Which I can see that, because the perception of it, I think makes you seem that much more highly sought after, theoretically makes you seem that much more credible. I do get that. But what I'm finding out is that there's really a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of different things that play into this. And I think the biggest thing is that you can't get discouraged. There's days out there where I'll spend hours and hours on comment threads engaging with people and going back and forth. And some of those days you don't convert any followers. And in fact, you lose followers on the back end for the reasons that I just outlined. The other thing too is if it's not that, there's also a lot of fake profiles out there. Those profiles get deleted. You thought you had a follower, but you really didn't. But at the same time, you may lose followers. You may not gain followers for that day. But if you stay at it, a week down the road, all of a sudden you gain 10 followers in a day. So, it's very much something that's in flux. It's back and forth. It's all over the place. I'm just figuring out, that there are many intricacies and nuances to something like this. And I'm just being patient with it. The biggest thing is just not getting discouraged. That's one of the things I preach to people all the time, is that you can't get discouraged. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and tell you that there aren't moments where I get frustrated and I get a little bit disappointed with it. But being disappointed and being discouraged to the point where you're gonna throw in the towel are two totally different things. And I'm just staying the course with it and just being patient. Good things take time, and just like Rome, it wasn't built in a day.
From the outside looking in, I could picture two platforms being your best friend: YouTube and LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, because it is not a mature platform, they are very conducive to organic reach and utilizing LinkedIn to spread your message. And I kind of, when I think of you and your business model, I think of Gary Vaynerchuk and Dave Ramsey. I'm not sure if you know who they are, but they both have,
I do.
they basically,
I'm familiar.
They both have a message, right? And you listen to them once, you've listened to them 100 times. If you listen to them enough, you can essentially guess what they're going to tell the customer, or the call-in guest. Gary used to have his Ask Gary V show, and Dave Ramsey has his 3-hour show every day where he answers financial questions. But it doesn't mean that they're not getting wealthy on the back end of that, right? They're providing a free service on the front end to grow a following, but then people still need to go to them for, Gary is doing business consultations in the 6 and 7 figures, and Dave's selling books like crazy. So it's almost like I can picture you having a call-in show, or, daily or weekly, from the threads you're engaging with initially. It might not even have to be people calling in, but kind of create your own question based on the threads you're engaging with, and be like, how would I deal with this? And then you do a 2-minute clip on how to deal with this on YouTube, throw that on LinkedIn with the right hashtags and tagging the right people, and you're going to blow up. And then tertiary, you've already got your Facebook and your Instagram established. It just seems like, they've almost created a template for a small business like you to follow in that regards.
So, interestingly enough, so I hit on a couple things there that you touched on. So as far as what you're talking about, start off with, have some free content that you put out for people, and then later on try to convert that into a smaller, sort of paid type of engagement or interaction that maybe you can have with certain clients. That's very much the path that I'm trying to take this down right now. In fact, in March, I'm going to be launching a little bit of a marketing campaign where there's going to be some free PDFs that I'm going to be putting out. There'll be kind of some shotgunned, short videos talking about one thing or another. And basically it'll offer you the opportunity to download a free PDF, some different things. We're going to have some things about interpersonal skills and about how to do the small things right to convert the small things to bigger differences and better outcomes. So that'll be some stuff that's coming out there. And ultimately that is where I want to take the business, is to, put some information out there, establish, some credibility with people in the sense that, all right, hey, this gives you a sense of what I talk about, what I'm about. And if you want to work with me on an hourly basis, or on a consultation for a specific outcome, over a certain number of hours, that's something that we could do as well. That's definitely what I'm trying to do. May or may not be a book coming out. The information that I'm going to be putting out there in PDF is actually part of a book that I'm writing right now. And I'm still toying with the idea of whether or not that's actually going to be just a straight book, or I'm going to break that down into sort of courseware, if you will. But that's definitely one thing that I'm taking a look at doing. I don't rule out the possibility of maybe having some sort of a call-in show, or maybe just taking questions and then answering questions in more of like a YouTube capacity for certain people. I do have a YouTube spun up. I spun that YouTube up about a year ago. And realistically, I spun that up more than anything else. I kind of spun it up for fun, knowing that starting a business was going to be something that I would eventually look to do. I didn't rule out the possibility that okay, once that's spun up, that this could be something that's already established and in place to help you out with your business. So right now that YouTube's a little bit weird, because I've got some things on there that are very much aligned with the business, things that talk about interpersonal skills, mindsets, and things like that. And, then I've got videos of my 4th of July and Christmas. So yeah, if you want to see what a really cool Christmas Eve party looks like and talk about mindsets and building confidence, check it out on Life by Z at YouTube. As well, also I'm on LinkedIn too, as well as Instagram and Facebook, all under that same title of Life by Z. Also the website itself, lifebyz.com. But again, all those things that you talked about and sort of, trying to model my business, off of what has already proven to be a successful model that, that's existed and there's a good precedence for already. That's very much what I'm trying to do. So a lot of those things that you mentioned are things that basically are in the works here at Life by Z. But going back to what I said a little while ago, Rome wasn't built in a day. So I'm going with the, one brick at a time, and, we will eventually create this, this massive building here. But that isn't of that building.
Yeah, well, I honestly think the most fun part to building a business is the process. Definitely the grind, though, does get challenging over time when you don't see immediate results.
So just interestingly enough, talking about that, when you don't see results, and here's sort of a sample of, of what I can give people. The example that I use in a situation like that is, it's a lot like when you go to the gym, and trust me, I'm far from the cover of Men's Health and Fitness, but I'd fancy myself to be in a lot better shape than the average person out there. And keep in mind, there's still people at the gym who could not only run circles around me, they could run circles backwards. But when you talk about fitness and trying to get into shape, you're going to hit the gym and you eat right and you go to the gym for a couple of weeks and you don't see any results. This is where so many people throw in the towel. Okay. I think there's other reasons that go into it too. I think laziness and a lack of discipline is a big part of it, but a lot of it is because people don't see the results. But one thing that they're discrediting is how they feel. Okay. You hit the gym pretty hard for 3 weeks. You're probably not going to see results. But you will, after 3 weeks, start feeling different. And that's one of the things people neglect, that feeling different versus seeing a tangible result is actually a thing. That's actually one of the first signs that you're on the right path. Oftentimes, you're going to feel success before you see success. So, if that's sort of any indicator of the types of things that I talk about and, in consulting with people, and I like to think that it is, that's what I'm about. But just a little free piece of advice for people: don't discredit the way you feel over the way you look, whether it's physically or whether it's from the perspective of trying to start something and maybe you don't achieve that success just yet, but you feel that you're on the right path. You're doing something right. Stick with it, even though you don't see the tangible result. Intangibles are just as important as tangibles.
Managing expectations goes a long way to success. How are you managing growing Life by Z while still being a pilot?
So one step at a time is really how I'm trying to do it. So right now, with what's going on in the airline industry, the schedule that I'm working is, it pales in comparison to typically what I would be working because of the dramatic drop in demands, which, net result is reduced number of hours that you're on the road. So I have more time, and in my off time, I'm focusing, every day on, all right, got to be productive today. Here's what I want to accomplish today to grow Life by Z. When I'm on the road, it gets a little bit difficult. Obviously, flying the friendly skies and saving the world one flight at a time becomes your priority. You have to focus on that, goes without saying. So that definitely becomes the focus of the day. But if I happen to have, a 2-hour sit at, a particular airport, once I've got the flight plan downloaded and everything already reviewed, and I've got maybe a half an hour to sit down, have a cup of coffee somewhere, I'll go on Instagram and go back to what I said a little while ago, look for some different posts out there, look at the comment threads, try to engage with people and focus on building the following. I mean, hey, it may only be a half an hour here or there, or possibly, if you get maybe a 20-hour overnight somewhere, you get a couple of hours later that afternoon or the next morning to sit down, focus on some things on Facebook, Instagram, or, do some engagement or some outreach and things like that. So, if you're on a trip, I think what I'm trying to say here is that, flying becomes the priority, but whatever downtime you have, convert that downtime into doing something productive to trying to build the company. So, it's easy to do when you're not flying and you can focus all of your attention on that on a given day. But at the same time, too, take advantage of what time you have, even when you don't have that time. It's about establishing priorities.
100%. We kind of mentioned this on when you were a guest on Furlough Friday. It's really easy to get wrapped up in social media, consuming it, but you can be way more productive and efficient if you're on social media creating as opposed to consuming.
I agree with you.
Is there anything that we did not discuss today that you wish I would have touched on?
No, I think that we had a pretty productive and pretty effective talk over here. I can't really think of anything else. Now, sure enough, after we wind this down, and when I go inside here and top off my coffee, I'll say, oh shit, I wanted to talk to him about that. But notwithstanding that, in the here and now and in the heat of the moment, no, I think we covered it all. And I would just encourage people out there, check it out. Life by Z at Instagram as well as Facebook, even on YouTube, which, like I said, the YouTube is more of a started that thing a while ago, with different intentions, but going to be converting that more towards the professional capacity as opposed to the recreational capacity, but still nonetheless, just some cool content to check out. And naturally, the website itself, lifebyz.com. And hey, if you have some things that you want to work on, some things, some goals that you set for yourself that you're finding yourself having a difficult time trying to achieve, some things that you're trying to improve in your life, and you feel that you might need a little bit of help with that, hey, why not hire a consultant? It's what the elite types do out there. And hey, if it works for the well-to-do and elite types to bring in consultants, hey, why not follow that same precedent of success and try it yourself? Check the website out, very least do a free consultation. Hey, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. And again, look, if I don't think that I can provide value to you and help you achieve your goals, I'm not going to take you on, because I don't want to take your money. It's got nothing to do with anything personal. I'm just not one of these people out there who's going to promise you the world and just take your money and give you nothing. My thing is, I want to give you value, and that value has to be justified. But like I said, I'll leave that up for people to decide. And check it out, Life by Z on Instagram as well as lifebyz.com.